Well, hey guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the build and the final video in the Skymaster A-10 Black Snake scheme. In this final video, we're wrapping up all the final details on this aircraft. We're going to do test runs, engine runs, all the scale details and everything. So lots to do in this video. So let's get started. So last video we finished off with doing our gear cycle on the landing gear. That was awesome. So we're pretty much ready to install our upper plate here. We're going to go through and we're going to install our normal shoe goop on some of our connectors, where our connectors go into the lighting control system and also the Zykoy fail-safe sequencer. We're going to goop those guys in place as well, and then we'll be ready to install our upper plate and tray and start organizing some of this stuff. So initially when I planned this board out, this is the upper board, I kind of planned on the Cortex going here, the Central Box 320 going there, but we also have to remember to keep a spot for our actuator for the canopy. So we'll probably end up going like this and putting our Central Box here, and we'll use them side by side, which is really no different. It just looks a little different. So we're gonna get these guys mounted in place first, and then we will probably get our board installed with all of our lines coming up through here. Now I did do up our leads here for feeding our Central Box power. So we use 16 gauge power wire and run those leads. I also have this tool right here, which uses hot glue to make ends on the MPX connectors. So this is one of our finished leads that's going to go to the front of the aircraft. So in this next step, we've got our electronics bolted down to our main board, and we are going to feed all of our wires through the through fitting. All right, so we've got our tray installed there. You can see it. It looks good. We've got our nice big wire bundle coming through, and no problems. So that worked out really good. Basically, everything to run the system on the aircraft are all coming through this wire. The only thing that's going to be added to extra is going to be our lines between our Central Box and Cortex and receivers and all that stuff, but no problems. That looks awesome. So we're going to start working on getting those things plugged in most likely. Also need to do our 2 set screws or fixing screws in the front here, but that is sweet. Okay, so before we install anything on that board, we need to get our gun deflectors or wind deflectors installed on the aircraft. Those guys go right here, and there is 2 bolts that bolt through the fuselage. So this back one's a little bit tricky to get at, but we do have a pretty clear path back there. You just have to go above the UATs and beside them, but it's really not too bad. But now is the time to definitely do it. I couldn't do it before because we had the aircraft sitting on a flat bench, and that would have gotten in the way. So these guys, you want to make sure you Loctite them. There is metal threads inside the scale piece, and you use the really short little Allen keys that come in the kit. These ones happen to be black. Every other one is silver, and that'll just fit in those and work out well. Okay, so we're getting the front board set up for the front of the aircraft. This one is the one that goes way in the nose, and I was kind of toying with the idea of putting the batteries, the plugs, in here, or putting them in the big tray right there. Now the problem with the big tray is that if you have to take this big tray out and the batteries are plugged into here, it's a bit of a nightmare. So it's better to have it in the smaller tray, and our batteries of course are going in the battery holder that we made. So what I've done is I made a cardboard template of this area and marked that out, and we're going to have our battery plugins here, 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 and there should be enough room when the cover plate goes on to clear the battery covers and everything. So that should work out perfect. Basically our batteries will sit in like this, and they will plug in their appropriate location. So these are our brand new glue-in battery mounts. These are the XT60 battery mounts. These are kind of cool because all you have to do is drill 2 holes and just do a little bit of sanding in between those 2 holes, so not very much at all. These are available on our website, and the website of course is thelightersideofrc.com, and tons of cool stuff on there, including all of the 3D printed parts that you see us use on our builds. So we got our front battery tray plugged in here. I printed labels for them as well, so you can see our various labels there. Now the labels really don't matter. Part of the reason they really don't matter is because all of our batteries in this aircraft are the same, but if you're wanting to power on the plane and then run the compressor, it's nice to know which one does what, so you only have to plug in 2 batteries or whatever. So anyways, that's why we labeled them, because it just looks cool too. So I'm going to run my wires into my connectors, and we're going to get those guys soldered up and installed. Okay guys, so we got everything wrapped up in the front section here. So we've got our battery leads all done. The only thing left to do on our other board is install our air fill valve. But you can see there we've got all of our leads fastened down. All of our EXT and programming ports are just in the front here. They're all labeled, so we've got 5 coming to the front for the various items. So that's all good. So what we're going to do now is we're going to install our front plate, our battery plate, which is this guy right here. We got our Velcro straps installed, got the screws cut off, so that's where our batteries are going to go. And our air fill valve is going to go right in this front portion right here. So we're going to get that put in, get the air fill valve done, and then we'll start plugging some of these servos in. All right, so we've got all of our batteries labeled, all 4 of them, and we're just charging up the batteries right now to get ready for our setup. So while we're waiting on the batteries, what we're going to do here is we're going to go into our radio system and basically just plug everything in. So we're going to get all these items plugged into the various outputs on the aircraft. Okay, so to get stuff plugged in now, we want to put our tail on. So we've got the tail all mounted to the back end. It's pretty simple to put on and off when you've got it all connected as one piece. So now what we can do is we can start plugging in our servo leads and checking all of our movements and centering. All right, so we got all of our batteries plugged in here, just working on the canopy section. So the canopy, you basically want to get everything lined up and just kind of tacked in place. So I have the actual canopy installed on the airframe. We've got our air cylinder installed on the main board, and I just have one screw holding it in place. And what we're looking for here is when this just drops under its own weight, we want everything to line up. We don't want to have any angles or anything there where it's pulling at a funny angle, so this is perfect. All right, so we've made some good progress here over the past little bit. We got all of our wiring installed. Our keepers are installed on the central box. So those are the G10 black keepers that hold the wires in, that bolt in place. We've got our wires nice and secured. We still have to goop our wires going into all of our receivers and everything. We've got our remote on-off switch on the side. Our primary receiver, our Rex 12, is right there. Our secondary receiver, the Rex 7, is right there. So that is the installation of the electronics. That is basically done. We have tested the lights and they all worked out really well. They look really good. So we've bolted the wings on. They are screwed in from the bottom. We've tested our compressor. Our compressor works. We did have to adjust the compressor. We forgot to do that. And the gear cycles beautifully. So some of the remaining items that we have to finish, we've got to finish our leading edge things, I don't know what they're called, the things that mount right here on the leading edge of the wings. We've got to get those done. We've got to put all of our scale details on and do a little bit of touch-up paint here and there, but she is coming along beautifully. So to get these guys mounted on the leading edge of the wings, you basically have to mark out spacing. The actual 3D or scale piece butts right into the side of the fuselage, and we make a mark on the leading edge of the wing, the length of the tab that mounts inside the wing. So once that's done, we're going to take our Dremel and we are going to grind out a channel for this piece to mount to. All right, so there's 2 slots cut, fairly straightforward. You do have to go through the carbon though. There's a little bit of foam. There's the exterior fiberglass, layer of foam, and then the carbon on the inside. So you're gonna have to go all the way through the carbon in order to get this to mount. And then when this fits, it fits just like that. So it's pretty straightforward because the curve follows the wing perfectly and the back edge lines up with this panel line right there. And then you know you're straight because the panel line lines up all the way across. All right, so we got our leading edge things there glued on and just taped in place. So they're high soled in place and the tape is making sure they are nice and flat. Again, quite simple to install. We put high sol on the actual pieces, high sol on the little slot we cut, taped them in place. Well, and I think that brings up time to install the cockpit. I think we're ready. We've gone through all of our systems. Everything works good. We have some final adjustments on the radio to do. So first thing with the cockpit is you need to get the front portion in here. That's a bit of a stretch now. One thing they've added on these recent kits is this channel for it to sit on. Previous kits didn't have that, so it's a little bit of a bear to get in there, but once we get the front portion in, then the rest of it just drops in no problem. All right, so I figured we'll do a little shot here of all of our lights operating. So obviously the camera never does these things justice. There's our rear flasher. There's our side lights. Green solid, white is flashing. Our top strobe, crazy bright. Our left wing, belly light, and gear lights. And then our canopy is operational. So we've got that all set up as well. Beautiful. Canopy open. Nice. All right, guys, it's the next day. We've got tons of stuff to do. I just took the tape off of our leading edge that we had holding our pieces here that we glued on yesterday. So that's done. They're nice and solid, which is great. We still have so many things to finish up. So basically, next thing we're doing is I've got my center pylons here. Now, we've marked these center pylons on the underside of the belly. We did that, I think, in video number 2. And all we have to do now is drill a pilot hole and screw these guys in place. You think when you get to this point in the build, you think that you're like basically done. But the downside is there's so much left to do. So just to give you a quick rundown of what's coming up in the video, what we have to do, more also for me just to mentally wrap my head around it. We've got to mount our center pylons. We're going to finish all of our paint touch-ups everywhere. We've got to do all the ordnance as well too. So we've got to get all of our ordnance figured out, set up, ready to install on the aircraft. And got to do some programming as well too. We still have to do our engine runs. It's pretty cold outside to do the engine runs. And then we've got to build a cradle for this as well too. So I don't know how much of that I'm going to detail in this video, but let's get busy and start working. All right, so we got our airbrush out and we did all of our paint touch-ups. I guess the primary ones that you guys knew about on the videos, if you're watching them, is the back here. So we did our screw holes and a bunch of that area there. So anyways, paint touch-ups are done. Next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna get this girl on her legs and probably put some ordnance on. I think it's time to get all that stuff sorted out. One thing that's kind of specific with this A-10 is they're a big plane when they're together, but they're not that big when they're apart. But one of the keys here that I've found over the years is just the stand setup. So generally there's, I always use 2 stands is the best way to do it. And there's a former right here on the front part of these diverters. So I always have the front stand resting there. The back part of the stand actually doesn't touch anything. And then the back part of the fuselage, there's a former right in line with this panel line right here. So right there, and you can actually feel these if you push on the underside of the fuselage. It's a heavy plane, so if you're putting the stands anywhere else, you run the risk of damaging something. So, and it's pretty easy. So you want to make sure you're on the formers. And when we build our cradle for this thing, that's how it's going to be laid out as well. All right, and there she is on her legs for the first time, looking spectacular. What a beautiful plane, beautiful scheme, looks so nice. Looks amazing. All right, so here's the ordnance package for this aircraft. The A-10 is unbelievable how much ordnance there is. We've already got the huge drop, the napalm bomb or something like that, mounted on the middle of the fuselage, but we got to deal with all this stuff. So let's try a bit of a camera trick here. Maybe this will work. Let's see. Whoa, and that's pretty darn cool. Everything's assembled. Let's get it installed. That was so cheesy. Let's get it installed on the aircraft now. Everything goes together pretty straightforward. Some of the ordnance, like these guys here, they've already got everything mounted on them. But some of them, like our, I don't know what these are called, cluster bombs, you have to mount them to the actual mount, and then this just keyholes on and off the aircraft. So you can just keep everything assembled like this. So once everything's assembled, it's really not that bad to put it all on because it's all keyholed. So, well guys, there she is. Oh my goodness. Man, that A-10 looks so good with all the ordnance on it. Oh, just awesome. So pretty much only goes together one way and looks outstanding. So nice. Absolutely stunning. What a great looking aircraft. Whew. All right, so next thing we got to do is we have to, well, there's lots of things we can do actually. we're going to probably check our CG next. It actually feels pretty good. So I know it's not overly scientific, but when you've dealt with a whole bunch of the A-10's, this is kind of what it's going to feel like. So when you lift the nose up like this, it will just slowly come down. So I suspect, this is my guess, I haven't checked the CG yet, my guess is we're probably going to have to put 100 grams, so a quarter of a pound, in the nose, but it is really close. And a big part of that was having that compressor mounted up front, I think was a big difference. So anyways, we're going to probably take the ordnance off next, because we don't want to weigh it and stuff with the ordnance on. We're going to take the ordnance off. We're going to CG the aircraft. We're going to fill it up, do a test run. All right, so generally I would be using my CG machine from our CG machine, but because we've built a fair number of these A-10's, I've got all the numbers already programmed, so we just set this up on the ground because we don't need our measurements. And I just put this on the scales with all the ordnance on there because I want to see what it weighs dry with the ordnance. So the UATs are full, we've got our batteries in there. I don't know if the CG is proper yet, but we are bang on at 60 pounds. Now I haven't pushed the CG button yet, so let's check. There we go. So we're tail heavy by 1 pound. So what we'll do is we'll pull our ordnance off here and we'll see if this affects anything. Generally the ordnance doesn't change anything for the CG because it's right over the CG, but we've got those numbers. Let's come back to this and see how it changes when we take the ordnance off. All right, so all the ordnance is off. We've just got it set aside there just to show you so you can see. It is very heavy. So with the ordnance off, we are 56.23 pounds. So basically the ordnance weighs, what is that, 3.75 pounds. That's a lot. That's a lot of weight to take off. So I don't know if this changed anything, but let's check it out and see here. So CG. No, so it doesn't change the ordnance. The ordnance doesn't change the CG at all, and that's to be expected because it's all mounted over top of the CG. So we're tail heavy, need to add 1 pound of lead at the nose. So basically what we do in this case is we simply add our weight and see how it affects things. So we have the hatch to think about as well too, so we'll put the hatch back on there, but we just want to be adding weight to see how much we need to add. But the weight is going right in the nose here, so this is going to be quite accurate. So all I do in this case is take my box of old lead weights and just keep adding. And then once we have an actual number, then we can get that figured out. So I think the last A-10, the Black Snakes one that we repainted, I think I added like 1.5 pounds, 2 pounds to the nose, something like that. So 0.17 pounds still. All right, so bang on with whatever weight that is. Okay, you can see it there. So we are bang on perfect. Let's find out what our dry weight is. So dry weight, without fuel, of course, 57.31 pounds. Okay, so now what we do is we take our bag of lead here and we take it over and see how much weight we need to add. Okay, so we need to add 480 grams in weight. So generally with a plane like this, I've got sheets of lead like this. What I'll do is I'll actually make a sheet of lead that weighs 480 grams. In this case, I'm just going to add the weight to the nose in a piece of lead because I know this plane flies perfect with this, these numbers that I'm using on my scales, and it flies amazing. So basically there's going to need to be 0 CG changes once we get the weight added. So if I was doing like a sports jet, let's say, and we were adding weight and then possibly removing it, what I would do is I would make the weight removable, so easier to access and the little pieces of weight to be removable, is the point. Okay, so we've got our lead added to the nose there, 480 grams as instructed. We've rechecked the CG and we are all good. So that is perfect. So weight is 57.25 pounds and we are bang on. It says nose heavy, but that's because it always is going to say one way or the other, but we're bang on where it should be. So that is phenomenal. So 57 pounds is actually impressively light. Really nice, actually. I'm quite surprised. So anyways, we're going to fill up the fuel system, and then what we're going to do is we are going to do our test runs on these engines. That's exciting, exciting stuff. So we're going to fill up our fuel systems one at a time, and next shot will be starting up the engines. We are ready to run these engines. It is brutally cold outside right now, so we're going to try and keep the door open as little as possible, but hopefully it should work. I've primed the engines as well too, so that is all good. And yeah, let's do this. So both engines have lit up, I can hear them. There we go. I'm going to back the plane up a little bit more. So everything ran really well. It is crazy cold outside. Right now it is minus 35 degrees Celsius, which is like minus 27 Fahrenheit or something like that. So anyways, engines ran beautifully like Sweewins generally do. One other cool thing that I'll show you guys in a little bit here is all of our V-Speak stuff that is available on the radio, which is super cool. All right, so just going through some of the programming here that we're doing, and I'm just going to turn the plane off here. So basically what we're doing on this final step of programming is just going through and making sure that everything's set up on our telemetry screens. So I'll go through the screens here with you and some of the basics of what we do. So we've got our first page, which has our antennas. So this is our 4 antennas. This plane's set up in dual path mode right now. We've got voltage RX, trim, of course, flight timer. Next one, we've got our sequencers. So this comes from our V-Speak setup. And then we've got some central box items here as well, too. So we've got those. Page number 3 is turbine stuff. So the way this is organized is we've got V-Speak status. So this tells you in writing what the V-Speak or the turbine status is. So stop, running, etc., right? And I've organized this where we've got left and left, right and right. So this is our temperatures. And then we've got fuel here as well. And then we've got RPM left, RPM right in big, just because we have space, and then battery voltage. So those are the 4 screens we've got set up right now. Some of the other basic things that we've got here is in our flight modes. So the way this is set up is we've got 3 different flight modes, which is our flaps are also tied to the flight modes. But we've got all of our rates here, and then you'll see our exponential change. So that is 25 in normal. When we do gyro off, it goes up to 35. Now the reason for that is the gyros naturally add expo. So if you're normally flying at 35 and then you turn your gyro on, you want to drop the expo down, or in this case I've shown it to you backwards, because if you kept it at 35 with gyro on and then gyro off 35, the airplane's going to be more twitchy than what you were flying with the gyro on. So I organized that so we've got a similar feeling. It's usually about 10% is pretty good, 15%. But if we go into ailerons here, for example, we've got different flight modes. It's not going to show anything here because we've got all of our rates the same. But then we've got gyro on off, gyro on off. So those are all programmed. And the reason my dual rates are at 100% here is because I've gone in mechanically and stopped the servo from moving. So on the ailerons, for example, we've got that carbon horn, which will damage the fuselage or the wing if we go too far. So we've got our travel reduced in our actual servos. Same thing on the elevators with our slots. Same thing on the rudders because your arm is going to contact the actual vertical stab itself. So that's some of the basics there of how we have things set up. Pretty much done on the radio side. I'm going to go in and put a couple more voice activation things in here. So when we go gyro on, gyro off, that type of stuff. Flight mode's already done. Gear switch is done. So yeah, it's just the gyro switch which I like to have. So that is radio programming for the A-10 Black Snakes edition. All right, guys, so that wraps up the Skymaster A-10 build series. Definitely helpful to have put together a couple of these before, redid one of them as well. Really helped speed things up, and also had some great ideas that came to fruition in this one, like putting that compressor in the front end, which ultimately saved some additional nose weight as well too. We've got another A-10 coming up that it was the one that I built a few years back that we're actually going to be repainting in the Black Snake scheme. This is such a popular scheme, and dang, it just looks so awesome. Anyways, we're going to make some changes on that airplane too, and probably put the compressor in the front and rebattery it and all that stuff. So really happy with this this overall outcome. Everything turned out really well. I don't have anything that I didn't like about the process. Everything was good. Quality of the kit was outstanding. The actual kit for Skymaster as well too, you know, if you look at the weights that we ended up with, this kit overall is lighter than kits from the earlier generations. So one of the, if you go back a year ago when I repainted that Black Snakes A-10, or repainted the A-10 to a Black Snakes, when that was one of the early generation planes, that plane without ordnance on it, full of fuel, was 76 pounds. This one is 67 pounds without ordnance on it. So huge difference in aircraft weight. Really, really impressive. I think it's wonderful to see them getting lighter. Lighter planes fly better as well. So the overall build was awesome. Love it. Looking forward to seeing this thing fly. I think it's going to be a beautiful flyer, just like all other A-10s are. So couple things for you guys, some parting notes here. Don't forget to check out the lighter side of RC After Dark. That's our live stream channel. It's a completely separate channel. We do live streams here from the shop for 2 hours-ish every 2 weeks. And it's tons of fun because you get to see stuff well in advance and you get to see things that happen before they come out in these videos. And probably the best thing about it is you get to interact with us here in the shop. We usually have some guests and it's just tons of fun, but it's an opportunity for you guys to ask questions to me and we can answer them live basically. The other thing I want to touch on is channel membership. So we've got a few channel members right now. It's awesome. I think channel membership is kind of unique. What channel membership does is it allows you opportunity to see our videos about a week or two before they actually get uploaded to YouTube. So what happens is I upload a video that's finished, I schedule it to come out 2 weeks from today, and all of our channel members, they get to watch those videos as soon as I upload them. Everybody else that is not a channel member, they have to wait a couple weeks to see those videos. So it's pretty cool. I think it's a neat perk. Thank you to all the channel members that have already joined. It is a paid service, so just keep that in mind. Guys, the A-10 was awesome. I think it turned out amazing. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think. If you are fans of the channel and you saw the painted one that we did, which one do you like better? I like the other one because the gray is lighter, so it's a little bit more differentiated, but I think this one is just bad as looking. It looks so cool. Yeah, it's awesome. Really happy with this one. It turned out amazing. So thanks guys for watching the channel. Thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you for watching my videos, and we'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much.